video is brought to you by Letsynthesize Academy, the #1 place for practice-oriented courses for serious music producers.
Hey, there, Larson here. Welcome to the new Synthesize Sunday episode. Today I want to show you a cool rag that kills, that eliminates the machine gun effect on your drum, something like this. So this is how the slam sounds now, but without the rag. So if you want to download this rag, go to my Patreon, and if you want to dig deeper into production, I have awesome start to finish courses, check them here. But right now, let's jump into it. Okay, so here is the groove, but without the rag, the magic machine gun killer rag. It's so unnatural, so robotic, there is no life in this. But if I activate the rag, you can hear that every hit is just a little different. That makes a very nice and natural sound to it. So I really love it, but let me show you to you what the rag contains. Okay, so as you see, I had to split the rag. It's a top and bottom band. So basically these are two EQ8s that has the same frequency split. I set it to 300 Hertz. You can do it in the macros. And on the top band, the first is an EQ8 again, and also it is set to 300 Hertz. And this is really great because, you can decide which part of the frequency band you want to affect, basically. I wanted to keep the low end almost untouched. I just activated some slight EQing, to make the low band a little different every time it hits, because this cinematic slam hit is very heavy on the low end. So let me show it to you. And if I don't add any movement to the low end, it is still very robotic, very unnatural and boring. I'm using the LFO to move these two dots back and forth. It is very, very simple. Now the real magic is happening here in the top band. So don't mind the cover here, I will explain a little later. So the top band sounds like this. So the first thing that I wanted to add again is some frequency spectrum movement. So this is why I activated this notch. We still have the machine gun effect, so adding the auto filter. I don't want to go very crazy with the notch because the sound of it is too obvious for the listener, so I just wanted to add the nice touch, especially on the mid and mid-low frequencies. Something like that. The next thing is a frequency shifter that is not in use now, but previously I was able to fine-tune the fine-tune. So using the LFO, let me show it to you how to do that using the LFO. If I click on map, I can, as you can see, add the crazy movement to the fine knob. It can be cool, but I think it is too much. So let's drag the higher end, the maximum value down, and the minimum value up. So as you can see, the fine knob moves in a lot shorter range. It already makes the sound a lot more natural by just, tweaking just a little on every hit. Okay, the next one is a grain delay that basically does the same, but on two different values. The spray, that is basically the distance between the grains, and the pitch. So both of them moves in a very narrow range. So if I activate that, it tweaks the sound even further, but it has a downside that we lose some high end. So this is why in the EQ8 I had to add it back. And the utility to the end, because I had to test if the mono or the stereo sounds better. Stereo definitely is better. Okay, so we have a very nice variation now on the top band and on the bottom band too. But there is the problem here. We totally killed the transient, so I had to come up with a solution, and this is why Carver is here. Carver is so cool because this is a transient shaper that you can not only boost the transient, but kill the transient too. So this is what I did in the top band. As you can hear, I totally killed the transient. So the solution was to use a new instance and tweaking only the transient. So I'm keeping the transient from the original hit. It's still has the machine gun effect, but first thing, it is very short, so you won't be able to recognize it. But the second thing is I'm using an LFO to tweak a delay, and it is again moving on a very short range, and what it does, it delays the transient just very slightly, and because of this very slight phase shift effect, it basically creates a different sound simply because of how the two sounds treat each other, so the top band and the transient. Let me show you, it is a lot easier to demonstrate than to explain. So if I don't use the delay, and if I add the delay, it has a different sound on the transient simply because the two parts has a different positions on the phase, and this is why it gives a different result, different sound at the end. So this is my solution, and I think it sounds really cool, not only on the slams, but you know, it can be very handy on, for example, house drums or any other style of drums. Now I use this drum loop and I put this rack on the clap. So this is the rack, let me deactivate it first. So this is how it sounds on every hit. Very boring, very unnatural and very robotic, but after the rack, it is always a little different, and I haven't even activated the frequency shifter. So let me do that again now. Okay. So it is always a little different, and this sounds so cool, and on claps it can be very handy. Especially if you are into tech house that, you know, is very percussion centered kind of thing, this rack on the claps or on your percussions can be very handy. You are shocked, aren't you? This is so cool. Go to my Patreon for the rack and click here for my academy for start to finish courses if you want to dig deeper into production. I was Larson. See you guys next time. Peace.